All right. Welcome to the Trading Triangle. We're back for another week. Hey, Sean. Hey, Kay. How are you guys doing?
Hey guys.
Hello, hello. How are we?
All set up for more trading after taking a week off. So glad to be back at it. Hope everybody celebrating the 4th had a good time. And anybody else taking summertime off, hope you're enjoying it. I know I did. I feel refreshed getting back to the trading. And I don't know. How about you, Sean? Did you trade quite a bit last week? How was your week?
I did actually. Yeah, I traded kind of in between levels and things like that. And I mentioned on Twitter, actually, I'm not trading at all next week. I'm taking a week off, step back, taking the data and just kind of calm down a little bit. I placed more trades than I would have done last week, so just to kind of calm down a bit, control my, excitement basically.
Yeah, see, everybody's doing it. You got to find that pace and take some time. And Kay, you took some time.
Yeah, I took some time off. I was off the week of 25th. That's when I didn't join you guys. So I didn't do much trading that week. But yeah, last week I did a lot of trades last week, especially on the day on Thursday when we saw that big pullback in the first half. Yeah, I took advantage of a lot. I had almost like 8-9 trades placed between that 9:30 to 12. So most of them I were able to close the next day out. So
nice. I'll have to play some catch up. But yeah, I took the time off and I've been looking at a lot of great charts. So we'll jump into all of that real quick. We'll do the disclaimer like we always do. So remember that we are not professionals. We are not financial advisors. Just three friends looking at charts and providing our opinions for educational and entertainment purposes only. So do enjoy and appreciate you guys joining us every week. And be sure to hit the subscribe button and follow along. And also check out Sean and Kay's YouTube channels and check us all out on Twitter. Follow along there. Post a lot of great info all throughout the week. So with that, I will get the charts pulled up and we'll get right to it. So looking at the week last week, just to run through the numbers, S&P overall was basically flat, up almost 15% on the year, up 14.5%. The Dow was down 1% and is only up 1.7 on the year. NASDAQ was up 0.5%, which is, holding above. It's at 30.52% to the positive for the year, which I had to double check. Russell 2K was down almost 1% and is up 5.87% on the year. Bitcoin was down slightly, but is holding strong at a positive 82% for the year. And the VIX spiked up a little bit, got above 15, closed at 1483 for about a 9% jump to the upside. So a little bit of volatility creeping up. Mm-hmm. What do you guys make of that?
Your fear and greed index, it stays in extreme greed, 78, and your put to call is 0.75, which adds to your fear and greed anyways. So yeah, so still looking pretty bullish. At least the market feels very bullish.
Yeah, another cracking week from Tesla, 531. That's good to see, and you can see obviously on the screen there we've got lots of red. Have a nice big green one there with Tesla. It's quite nice to see.
Yeah, no doubt. Tesla is powering higher. I'm interested to see what your thoughts are there. And let's just keep it going. And what do we got for earnings? I guess more looking at events, right? Earnings still a little bit of ways away.
Earnings is 3 weeks away, so we will hit the earnings on, I think, July 25th, 26th. The banks will open. And I think the first week, generally, the banks report. The next week, you start having Netflix. And I guess the tech starts. Netflix and Tesla generally report the same week, I guess.
It'll be here before we know it.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, July 12th is mark that date, 8:30 a.m. We will have the core inflation numbers coming up. We had 5.3 last year over year, and expected is 5%. So it's anybody's guess. We have all been here long enough. If it comes in line or better, you probably will see a massive rally. And if it comes worse than expected, then you could see the fear of maybe 2 or 3 or even more rate hikes will at least come in the market temporarily until they shake it off and go back to the bull run again.
Yeah, I think we're expecting rate hikes, right? That's what's been announced, and we're expecting for July. How much, I'm not sure. And then I think the big question is how much more. But we'll have to wait and see. So looking at the charts themselves, always start with the broader market. Kay, while you were out, I started using fibs. I can't help myself. And so looking at the Fibonacci levels, because they seem to be working quite well here with SPY. So it closed at 438.55 last week after retesting that the high around 444, just shy of 444. I think it actually got there. But then on Friday, you see this nasty wick on the daily candles and pushing back down towards that 20-day moving average, which has been supporting. So that could be a good sign. I'm looking for that 20-day to hold, or the 435.87, roughly 436 to hold for SPY to continue the uptrend. But if that doesn't hold, it looks like there's a little bit of room there to wiggle and maybe fall back down to that halfway point. So that's where I'm really kind of focused, is about 436 this week, and see if that can hold up.
Yeah, I mean, the last 2 days, if you combine them, it's a bit like a doji, isn't it? So it still feels that kind of indecision. Perhaps we're seeing that going into CPI. Will be a big week, obviously, on Wednesday. Maybe it's that kind of trepidation, shall we say, in the market. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing in your levels you called. From what I can tell, spot on there. The 50 is the one I'm looking at.
Yeah, I didn't even catch that. I like that. That is like a 2-day doji, and it's 2 quick gaps that have closed. You notice that too? Like gap up, gap down, doesn't matter. We'll just close those up real quick and have everybody wondering. So
yeah, that is your double top right there, right? The
true statement.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We saw a double top in DraftKings, and that thing's still trying to move higher. So
that was a triple top.
It's almost a quadruple. We'll have to look at that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Anything to note on the options side of that? You mentioned the fear and greed index, Kay.
Yeah, the option side, I think for the SPY, it's 2.11, so it's always very bullish. Sorry, it's always a little bearish on that side.
On the protection side there.
Yeah, on the protection side, and I think that is because it's on a daily side, right? They trade on a daily basis on the options. They open and close every day contracts, so it's always people always head SPY and QQQ. So
Got it.
Not much. I guess everything expiring on 7/11 is pretty massive, but yeah, nothing really spikes out over here on SPY. I think the 12th you'll see a lot more. Maybe we can play the wicks for the 12th. Close it before the. We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, well, for me, I've got that 444 level roughly that we need to break above. Otherwise, really need to hold for, I'll just say it again, 436, and if not 426, 427 is about where the midpoint of this recent rally is at, and where the 50-day moving average would come up nicely. So that's kind of more the downside support. Sean, I think you actually have levels on both upside and downside. So what do you got going with your chart?
Yeah, so straight off the bat, I've written there CPI dependent. And this is where I see where the stock market would go if it goes up or down, essentially, if we get good news or bad news. So if we get good news, I think we can run to 450 fairly easily. We break that high. We know what the market's like when we get good inflation numbers. It tends to move quite aggressively in either direction, of course. But really, if it moves down, I've got a thick line there of 432, and you can see kind of back in the beginning parts of 2022, we made that high where it connects to the 200 moving average, which is the red line. But likewise, I've also noted the blue dots on the 50 moving average kind of coming up, especially in the last few months. So it could kind of resort down to there, touch that, and then we'll see where we go from there. But I think that's the ultimate support that I've got. I mentioned it when we looked at your chart. But the two thicker lines we can see at the top, that's the kind of range I'll be looking at trading in the next kind of 2 to 3 months. I'm going to be trading it, but I mean, that's what I'd expect the SPY to be moving in. But yeah, just what I can kind of see on the SPY at the moment. Just kind of, it's CPI dependent, isn't it, really? It's hard to say.
It does seem that way. Yep, it does seem that way. Well, I don't think the Qs are going to be too much different. We've got a double top forming here. I've noted, the March 22 high. So just taking a look at that chart next here, kind of clean this one up just with a few levels, and the trend noted here with the green line. But again, the 20-day moving average is providing support. You want to see that hold, and we're targeting to get back above recent highs. But that recent high that I've got noted actually isn't the most recent. That's tied back to March 22. So that 371.83 level is really what we need to break above. And that would be significant, I think. I mean, going all the way back over a year now, almost a year and a half, that would be significant. That being said, I do think it's data dependent, just like we've been saying. And I've got 355 as the level below if we do get a bit of a sell-off as our next level of support. And you can see the 50-day moving average coming up right around there. It'll probably be a little lower between 350 and 355. But generally speaking, I think if we do get a sell-off, that's what I'd be looking at for support. Do you guys see anything to add on this chart here before I jump to yours, Sean?
It's
nothing to add. I think you covered it nicely. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's exactly, if you think about it, it looks exactly like SPY, the double top on two sides. The options, it's same, 2.17. So it's like ditto, exactly the same.
Yeah, so we're still getting an indecision between kind of CPI related area, aren't we? But I think Nate called it correctly there. The 50 moving average, the trend line, obviously break higher. I think we go higher quite quickly.
Hey guys, my audio is not working, but I think you're talking, so I'm gonna jump to Sean's chart.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So this is my chart, and we can see immediately the kind of blue highlighted lines I've got there. And we mentioned double top, and we can kind of see where we've hit it back in the past as well, kind of late 2021, that might be. But yeah, I've also written a little comment on this one as well, which is does big money come in now? We spoke about it a few weeks ago. These hedge funds are still sitting on the side. Not literally, I mean, they may not be, of course. They might be dripping in throughout this whole rally. But if they are still stepping on the side, do they see this as an opportunity now with the CPI? If it's a good release, do they jump in their money now? This is what I've been thinking recently this week. It could be more hope than actual logic, but if not, then the big money might be still sitting to kind of reach that 50 moving average, which we kind of touched on with the SPY. But the levels are there for you to have a look at. We've got 357, 369, 382, similar to Nate's in a way. But yeah, that's kind of what I see. Any thoughts on this, Kay?
Yeah, no, I think I think it makes more sense. I honestly think that I think when we talk about big money, I wonder if they would get into the tech versus would they get into some of these other cyclical, like a consumer discretionary or consumer staple industry, because those have really not seen any rally apart from like QQQ is pure tech, right? Tech has driven this rally. Its QQQ is up 30% year to date. Whereas S&P is up, I think, 15% or 14% year to date, something like that. So I'm wondering if the banks or the others are going to get the benefit of the big money coming in. I know that Nate is going to be back in a couple of minutes. He is having audio issues, so we can continue over here.
Technical issues.
Yeah,
so
technical issues.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it always happens after a break, right? You take a break, you come back, and your machine doesn't work, and everything happens. So
we've forgotten how to operate the system. Okay, right. So we have the Tesla chart. Are you happy for me to carry on? All good? Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, awesome. So this is Tesla. We've got it up here, and we mentioned at the beginning of the show. We've got a 5% rise this week. You can see that kind of gap up we saw at the beginning of the week, which is quite exciting actually. Obviously, we had a day where we weren't live. It was the Independence Day, so that's why you only see 4 candles representing the whole week. So we can see that we might potentially fill that gap. I think maybe we could, to be quite honest with you, and that might align with the 20 moving average coming through. But I've got the 255 level there as well. Just to kind of come in below that, you can see back in the beginning of the chart as resistance, it's hit there a few times. But what I really wanted to kind of note on this one is to kind of really emphasis on the trend change with that kind of green circle you can see with the moving averages crossing, the 20 coming through and the 50 coming through very aggressively on the 200 day. The 200 is the red line, and the other two obviously yellow and blue, very direct coming up. Which signals to me possibly a very good kind of trend reversal for I mean, you can see that already on the chart, but like a continuation of that, should I say. Whether we come down and break the 20 and come down to the 50, that's to be obviously seen. But I think with the news and where Tesla's going, we know what it does. It moves very aggressively, very quickly. So I think we can see 300. I think fairly easily. I don't know what the options data, that'd be interesting to know.
Yeah, so on the option sides, of course, Tesla, the put to call ratio is 0.84, so it's of course very bullish. On the volume side is 0.63, so that's also very bullish. One interesting note that I have, Sean, here is that you mentioned the gap up that we had, so that the gap up is happening between 262 and 274, right? Something like that. Yeah. So I think that could be an opportunity, honestly. Because Apple had a similar gap up recently, and in the same last week they were able to fill that gap up. So I think if we do get a pullback in one of those days where you have a red day, you could see Tesla actually filling that gap up. That's where honestly I think if I am doing a trading, I might want to get in and maybe even play that. So how would you trade this one if you had to trade?
Yeah, so if I had to trade this one, I would be looking at kind of similar to what you just said, and what I said earlier. So the 20 moving average coming up towards that kind of gap area, and I think I'll just play it off the 20, because we can see where it's touched it recently. The kind of aggressive buying in the following 2 days was quite significant, and you can see it kind of throughout the chart as well. It does like the 20. Not religiously, but I would be looking at the 20 moving average for sure. Yeah, I wouldn't even be looking at the 255. That's just there maybe as a stop loss kind of thing. But yeah, that would be what I'd be looking at. We seem to be having technical difficulties of continuation, so it's just me and you now, okay?
Yeah, no, I think the screen sharing also stopped. So let's see.
Is one of us in control?
Oh, yeah, perfect. Nate
is
is back. Yes, nice. Can you hear us, Nate? Nate can't hear us.
Oh no.
Okay, but what we can do is, so if Nate cannot hear, what we can do is we can share the presentation. Let me just send you the link. Oh yeah, perfect. Beacon is up. So I'll type here.
If you guys got any comments, stick them in the comments. So we're happy to read and start a conversation.
Oh yeah, sorry. We did have Nate with the slick new do. Okay, I didn't even catch that. Sorry about that. Live chat. Okay, so can you control the presentation, Sean, or are you waiting on Nate?
I do not have control. Let me see if I can present something.
Sorry, folks, technical difficulties. Let's see.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah. This is normal. When you're at work and these things happen, it's like, yeah, well, whatever.
People are used to it by now, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So here we go. Share screen. Hopefully, Nate can get this going. Screen 1. Is that right? Yeah. Share. How do I make it full screen?
I'm still seeing Nate's screen, which is the first slide. So
I can't actually activate it to get it in. He has to do that.
Yeah.
So if you're listening or watching, Nate, if you could present my screen, that'd be fantastic.
So while we wait for Nate, why don't we actually ask? We did get a comment. He says, check the sound card setting just in case it resets itself. So Nate, take a look at the comment. Maybe that can help you. Thank you, Hawk Meteor. Okay, so I think while we wait for Nate, let me ask everybody on the call, whoever is watching, is are you actively trading this week, or do you plan to trade since it's the CPI numbers are going to be released, or are you more on the fence? You'll wait and watch on how the Wednesday numbers come out and then maybe get into the market.
Yeah, and while they're typing, maybe we can say our piece on that. I mean, I've touched on it a little bit already, but Kay, are you going to be sitting back this week? Or are you going to be, I mean, you mentioned a little bit earlier, but
Yeah, so I think
more
in
detail.
my case, what I do generally is like couple of stocks. I think, let's say, I'm not touching Apple, honestly. At these levels, it just doesn't make any sense for me to touch.
Mm.
But like a stock like Intel, I would probably, see if in the Monday and Tuesday, if I get a good entry point, I will get in. Because it's a weekly trade. I think I don't expect that massive swing due to the CPI numbers on Intel. But certain stocks like SOFI, it might be the one. So we have a Two Hawk Meteor says, watch for me once Wednesday CPI is released. I look at my target prices again. Yeah. So I think a lot more people might just wait it out until Wednesday to get that. And you can also play the trend. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and we can see that in the last 2 days trading and SPY, can't we? It's kind of indecision.
Exactly, the doji. Yeah.
I think we'll continue to see that Monday, Tuesday as well. It normally happens like that in kind of lead up to CPI, a bit of uncertainty, a little bit lower volume as well, kind of plays inside with it.
So unfortunately, Nate has this massive problem with his system, so he will need to restart. He says the broadcast is still going on. Should I just end it? Let me see. I think it might be a better idea to just end it, I guess, and then restart.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Nate. Oh,
beautiful. My goodness. I don't know what happened. I apologize.
It's okay. We kept the show alive.
Yes. We tried our best to be the temporary host here.
We'll do a lot of post editing on this bad boy. I do not know what happened. I bumped something, I guess. Anyways, I'll look into that after the show, but let's keep this rolling.
Yeah, so we finished Tesla, but let's go back to the Tesla chart. And I guess if you want to give your, some thoughts on Tesla, and then we can kick it off.
How did you guys roll through that? I saw charts moving and stuff. It must have been showing some other things. Good stuff. All right. Apologies again. Maybe it was the new haircut. I don't know. Blame it on that. And let's keep this thing rolling. So yeah, Sean, go ahead with Tesla. Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm just going to blast through it again. I did say my piece on it, but to get your kind of thoughts on it as well, I just got to blast through the kind of key points. So we can see the green circle there. I can see a nice little moving average direct move straight through. It looks very, very positive for the next coming 6 to 12 months. And me and Kay pointed out the kind of the gap that we just created in the last week or so. We're thinking possibly it could come down, test that gap, and likewise the 20 moving average can come underneath, and that will act as a nice support, and we can continue with this momentum.
Yeah, it does have all the signs for more upside, doesn't it? Like that 20 moving average seems to be the theme this week. We've seen it on the SPY and the QQQ, and here it is with Tesla coming up to provide more support. If we do even get that gap fill there that formed, you're going to get support right at that spot. And if it holds here at the prior high, then all the better for more upside. So all the way around, I mean, just an incredible run. And I mean, I don't know why anybody decides to short Tesla at any point. I definitely understand, I guess, the steepness of the rallies, but they just keep going. They just keep
very
going.
Dangerous to short Tesla, yeah.
Yeah, but are you looking at, I guess, we could see it consolidate here. 275 seems like a nice clean level for it to try to hold at, and then push for a move higher. Is given the kind of action back in time where we got to this level, and it looks like it provided some support. So yeah, that would be the bullish case here, is to get that support again and then target that upside back to 300, the magic 300 level.
Yeah, and Tesla's had a history of pushing to like psychological levels. So back in the day, it used to push to 1,000, and then it would just kind of stay there for a little bit, go a bit higher, and then come back down afterwards. And it really likes to go for those milestone points, should we say. So I think that 300 is definitely in sight for a lot of traders as well as investors. But we can see that the ultimate resistance here is 311. At least what I've got on the chart here. It looks like a nice little triple top we saw back in the past. So that'll be a really good test for Tesla coming up.
I like it. 311. Let's see it.
Neo. Wow. Well, it's going well. I mean, let's be honest, it's going well. We did think it would a couple of months ago, even a month ago, really, to be honest. Yeah, exactly. I hold my hand up as well
Guilty.
to
Guilty.
that, yeah. But we can see phenomenal price action, actually, in the last few weeks. You can see I've got lots of lines on the screen. I won't talk to them too much. But what I will say is the company, in terms of delivery, like of numbers, should we say, we've got some good registration numbers that came out last week. I know it's just 1 week, but it's a step in the right direction, and hopefully tomorrow we can get a good registrations number as well. I'm thinking more towards kind of 5,000, so that'd be good for the neo investors, neo traders, whoever kind of follows the stock. But excitingly, actually, they're coming to the UK in Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this week. A festival, a Goodwood festival. I tried to get tickets, but I can't because I'm not off on that day. So annoying. But it's only half an hour away as well, which is fantastic. But oh well, maybe next time.
Just start laying the groundwork now, Sean. Like
exactly. Go make yourself the face of Neo.
Yeah, well, I did put on Twitter. If anyone wants to invite me, then please, that'd be fantastic.
That'd be all right.
I'll figure it out somehow. But yeah, so we're going back to the chart. We've got, obviously, I said positive price action, but we do see a big red line coming down there, and that's the 200 moving average daily. And because we touched off it there on, what was that? Must be Monday and Wednesday, because we were off on Tuesday. So Monday and Wednesday, we kind of hovered around there, and I think we've got to challenge it again. Possibly if we get some really good registration numbers tomorrow, I think we break that. It's all about holding it, in my opinion. So if we do break that, we're going to have to hold it. And if we don't hold it, then the 20 moving average coming up below, I think would be a nice support. We bounced off it very nicely, cleanly, kind of, what's that, end of June kind of time, coinciding with the trend line and the 50-day moving average as well. So that was a really nice point of support. So we've got that in our favor as neo investors, neo traders, etc. But yeah, that's what I see on the chart. I'm not going to talk too much about it. There's a big red line in the way, basically.
Yeah, there is. But what if that slides right in underneath nicely, and then Neo has got some additional support, can maybe hang out there a bit? That would be a really good sign. You've got the other moving averages really curling upwards. So, I mean, it's a bit steep on the 20-day. That is pretty steep, but the trend is up and the trend looks nice. So, it caught me by surprise, for sure. Absolutely caught me by surprise. I did not expect the rally all the way to 10 to, when it fizzled and got back down below 850. I was like, okay, this sounds about right. 8 to 850. Maybe we'll get some consolidation a little higher. And so it's been really nice, a nice trade. And I think if 850 here, or excuse me, 950 can hold up, like you're saying, I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah,
this is a nice little potential buying range, right? Like 950 to 10. And if it consolidates here for a bit, and if you didn't get in a little bit lower, yeah, you get some nice support there.
Yeah, and I think the sentiment on especially on Twitter and just kind of community in general is changing for Neo. They're getting a bit more positive, at least from what I can see. I mean, I cover Neo quite a lot on Twitter, as you know. But yeah, I think the sentiment is turning a bit more positive. Have we hit a bottom? That kind of talk. The delivery numbers, as I mentioned, kind of turning around a bit. So that could be what we're seeing reflected in the stock price. So it'll be exciting to see what can happen in the next, to the end of 2023. I've got a personal price target around $20-ish, and I've done a separate video on that, but that's where I've got in mind. I know it sounds a bit bullish, but you know me, I like bullish charts.
Well, this is the kind of chart that is rounding and it's trying to make higher highs here. So if you get above that 1075 level, then that get it back above that 200-day moving average. I don't know, Sean. I'll keep I'm now positive, so let's hopefully that continues, because I was, when we were down at that 740 level and listening to you, I was like, oh man, I hope it holds here. But I was admittedly not so optimistic.
Well, I really hope your $20 price target comes to fruition, because I would love to open some covered calls when it's running up.
Oh, okay, I'll say you're welcome when it hits there, shall I?
The patience. Okay,
not financial advice. Anyway, so yeah, we have next one, which is Palantir, and we can see, I didn't really want to talk too much about here in terms of price action. You can see where it is. It's kind of following the SPY. We're creating a bit of a range between the 1350 level and the 17. Can't quite see it behind the logo, but that is $17. And I've been really impressed, actually, with how much this stock has held up We can see the volume has kind of got a bit lower. But generally, the stock price has kind of dipped below the 20, came off the 1350 line. And I think this could be a nice little range that we travel to until the next earnings, which you can see the arrow is pointing down there. It's not an official date, but it's kind of a rough area. It's normally kind of mid to early of the month, which in this case would be August, of course. So that would be, this is what I want to see from Palantir, is a little bit of consolidation, just to kind of calm down a bit. And then the next earnings, hopefully we get some obviously good news, a bit of a catalyst for the stock to push above 17 and maybe hit towards that 20 level. A bit like Neo, actually, 20. Sure, let's go. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say for Palantir this week.
Give it a go. Yeah, this is just another one of those great moves that we've been talking about that, Sean, you led the way with. And yeah, I'm trying to look for any signs of negativity. We got that same doji candle, form 2-day doji kind of forming there, and but that's more indecision than anything, right? So that doesn't really show us much direction. So yeah, maybe an opportunity to pick a range here or set a range up for some more buying if you didn't get in like myself at the lower levels.
Are you guys planning to get? Sean, are you planning to get in this week, or are you like continuing your existing trade that you already have with Palantir?
So with this one, obviously it's a long-term hold for me, so I'm just holding my shares. Currently, we spoke about it before hours, obviously, out of hours. But I'm currently just holding my shares. I don't see the reason why to sell at this point. I see where the company might be going in the next kind of couple of years to 3 to 10 years, really, actually. So yeah, I might add if it comes down to this kind of 1150 level or the 50 moving average, but that's kind of only action I have planned. Obviously, it may change in the next week, 2 weeks, who knows? But currently, I'm just sitting on it, basically sitting on my hands. Really, I don't want to panic or anything like that.
Got it.
Yeah.
And from an options perspective, again, this is also pretty bullish. 0.61 put to call. So anything less than 1 is a bullish, and I think we talked about this multiple times. Stocks like Palantir, Mara, or SOFI, they have this big retail crowd, and that keeps the call options up. And of course, now also some institutional investors, they also get in. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'd like to see the kind of volume pick up as well through the next earnings to see what they do.
It does look like volume's falling off a little bit, yeah.
But interestingly, volume has been going down for most of the stocks, and that has to do with a couple things, right? One, we had that Juneteenth holiday coming on to end of Q2 and then getting into 4th of July. So generally during this last week of Q2 ending, and Q2 was also first half ending, so a lot of things came around at that time, and so many stocks you will see the volume has really gone down.
So what you're saying is Nate wasn't the only one on holiday then?
Yeah, exactly. Most of the big traders from Wall Street, they were in Hamptons celebrating their long weekend.
Yeah, you can see the volume impact from me being out of the trading. Just look at all these charts.
Exactly. There you go.
Taking all those shares out of the system, can I say? Hanging with my friends in the Hamptons.
Yeah.
No, that's not what I was doing.
I didn't see you there, by the way, Trade.
Nice.
It's a long way for me, so I want you to see me there.
Next year. We'll go
next year. Okay.
Yeah.
Or quarter. I think they go quarterly. That's funny.
Cool. Yeah, so last up we have NVDA. This seems to be a little bit of kind of a retail favorite stock. I'm getting a lot of comments related to this one, and people are saying continue covering it. So that's what I'm going to do, and it kind of excites me as well as a kind of concept. Obviously, making our own batteries, releasing them, giving extra life to our little devices here. So that would be really good for the future if they manage to pull it off, of course. But yeah, going to the technicals, what I've drawn is a very large yellow box you can see at the top there. This is a range that we touched on at the top left of the screen. So the range starts from about 1850 to, oh no, it's covered up by the sign. I think it's about 26. So 26 is that range. What I'm really looking for the stock to do is get up into that range and kind of trade through that range, bring up the moving averages, bring out some more news, some more press releases, some better earnings reports, and hopefully to stabilize the stock a bit, because we can see it moves a lot. And that happens a lot with these retail stocks, of course. But yeah, that's what I'm looking for in terms of future kind of price action. But what we can see in the past price action is the kind of really nice bounce off of the 3 moving averages and that kind of $13 level, and it's just rocketed basically, hasn't it? So again, we've got the moving averages curling up, as we've mentioned before. And we've got the yellow one kind of above the 1550 level, which I know, Nate, you picked up on a few weeks ago, the 1550 level you were looking at. I'd be curious to see if you actually acted on that. Had any thoughts on that, or you're too busy sitting back in holiday mode?
I was in holiday mode, admittedly.
But what I'd be looking for in the future, obviously, is the 50 to move up into that 1550 level as well. I think that'd be really nice for the stock moving forward.
Yeah, one thing that strikes to me is the premiums, the option premiums on this. For just a 1 week option, you at the money you're getting almost 3%. You'll make 3%. If you compare that with Palantir or any other, you are in like a 1% or even less than 1% at the money for 1 week expiration. So that just shows you how much liquidity or volatility would be in this stock.
Cool.
Yeah, that move through 1550, just to talk about that a little bit. So we had resistance there, right? And we were looking for a clean breakthrough with good volume, which definitely got that. And then on top of that, the following day, it didn't pull back and, retest completely, but we got a little bit of a drawdown. And then, the price moved back higher. So that's that day after, the day 2, that's, even though it looks like you might have missed out on the trade, and obviously nothing's guaranteed, it could have very well reversed from there. But that volume busting through a ceiling like that to me is a huge, I'm glad you asked, Sean, because if I had been paying attention, that would have been a great trade to get in on. And you can see the move higher all the way up through a couple of levels there. That's a really nice trade. In only a couple of days. So it's a short trade when you see something like that, but that's the kind of breakout I look for. Is that basically the similar kind of setup you're looking for, Sean?
So not exactly, no. I kind of base it on the actual kind of price action with the candles, etc. So coming up, breaking through a level, and coming back down to retest that level. You mentioned a little bit here, but it didn't quite retest it, so I wouldn't have taken the trade typically.
Gotcha. You wait for that retest.
Literally, essentially, I'll wait for a retest. Sometimes I can be a bit too accurate with it, and then I miss out on the trade. But that's trading; you can't get every single one. But I kind of wait for it to come back down. But there's lots of different ways you can break out trade. I mean, you mentioned one, I mentioned one just there. But sure. That's the kind of one I typically look at, the retest.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably a way to add confidence in the trade, right, to the upside. You get the retest and the hold, and versus I didn't quite get that retest. So on that day 2, on the we had recently here. So it would be a higher risk, I guess you would say, higher risk kind of entry there.
Yeah, but, just to add on to my breakout trade there as well, when it comes up and it retests, just an extra point of confluence. If the moving average is typically the 20 kind of slides in with that support line, and that is it's a go for me. It's a buy signal generally.
I like it.
And just to add to what you guys are saying, so there are 12 analysts that are covering ENVX, and 10 out of the 12 have a strong buy and 2 have a buy rating. The average price target for 1 year is about $28. So you're looking at what, 50, 51, 52% upside from here onwards.
Nice. Wow. That's some pretty that's nice price targets there.
And you won't even know what the outrageous high price target is. High range is $100. I don't know where that comes from, but yeah.
Let's see it.
I think it's just a pure opportunity, isn't it? If they can make this wonderful battery that goes into all these devices and increases its 63% battery life, then it's a game changer, isn't it? I just hope they can pull it off.
Yeah. What kind of batteries is it? I'm sorry, were you saying like
lithium-ion silicon battery?
So it's all the EV batteries, those specifically.
No, it's just components like for phones, laptops.
Okay, tablets. That's what I was getting at.
They're working on EVs as well. But essentially, there's a cool video actually on the website I watched yesterday with my friend, and it's kind of explaining the kind of differences between a normal battery. Because a couple of years ago we heard about the Samsung ones exploding. because they tried to put too much power into the battery, which, you know, it's fair enough. It's well, it's not fair enough. It's literally exploding in people's faces.
I'm glad they found the limit, though. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're basically trying to provide a way to give the same power, if not more, without that kind of explosivity, shall we say, by adding silicon and different layers and components, etc. It's all very scientific. But yeah, I mean, the video explained it really well. I might leave it in the comments down below if anyone's actually interested. I'd be happy to do that for you. But yeah, it's an interesting technology. And like I said, if it does take off, I think it could be a game changer. It's not the only company doing this. So there is a bit of competition, but could be healthy competition. Who knows?
Yeah, nice. Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome. And over to you.
All
Here
right.
we go.
I will take it. So, I see my screenshot caught more than I wanted here, but that's all good. So, yeah, looking at NVIDIA, we've been trying to see if this will continue even higher, given the amazing run we've had here, the leader in the AI world, and, you know, we've kind of stalled out. I mean, it's still a very nice move again for the year and still performing well. It hasn't pulled back a ton. And I've got 404 at the bottom end of the range here, holding up nicely with 434, 435 at the top end. And right in the middle, the magic 420 number in the mid-range. And that's providing some support. We did dip below it a little bit. I think these are the hourly candles I've got showing here. It's driving me nuts that I blocked that. Sorry about that. But I'm pretty sure these are the hourly. It's hourly. Let's see. Look at the days. There we go. Yep. And so given that, this is a shorter trading, window time frame. So I'm using this to, potentially if you do own 100 shares of NVIDIA and you're looking to sell covered calls, you could definitely look at this 435, 436, or excuse me, 435, 440 levels. It looks like that's holding up as resistance. But then again, if you're holding NVIDIA and you're not really looking to lose those shares, you could extend because the premiums are so nice on the NVIDIA calls. You could go much higher out of the money and still collect nice cash and be a little bit safer. So with respect to not losing your shares. So I saw you nodding your head there, Kay. I think you like to go further away, right? And collect a little bit less. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think if you are doing covered call, especially for stocks like NVIDIA, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, and you don't want to lose your stocks, I think you would rather sacrifice that little bit extra premium to the safety. So I would, at this point in time, I would try the delta of being maybe in 10, 11, 15%, not even getting close to 20%, because you saw this massive candle with NVIDIA that gapped up from all the way from 309 to 390. That's an $80 jump. You don't see in a $1 trillion company or even $500 billion company, a market cap company, doing a $90 jump or $80 jump in single day. So that's the reason when you're doing covered calls on these kind of stocks, it's fine if you want to do a weekly, just try to play a safer if you don't want to lose your stocks. Sometimes, for example, in my case, I do covered calls on Tesla specifically to sell out in that week. So if I'm doing that, then I will always do at the money, because I just want to get in and get out of the trade. But if you are using your long-term investment, don't go even closer to like 30%, because it can get called out.
Yeah, just looking at the 1 week out, you can get about 1% at the 460, 465 strikes, between 1 and 2%, right? Yeah. So well out of this range, and in 5 days collecting a decent, 1 to 2% is amazing in just a few days. So, but that being said, also if you're just trading the shares, because NVIDIA is an expensive stock, that makes a lot of sense. I do like if we see this 420 level hold again, if they get that retest to accumulate between 420, 423, and look for a move back up to that 435 level. If it does not hold at 420 though and breaks, I would be waiting for it to retest at 404 level and try to accumulate between 404 and 408, roughly 407. And in those ranges, after we've seen something hold up a bit, that's when I would be jumping in to make those range trades and trading accordingly. Nothing in the sense of breaking out showing up here. And I don't really. This is a tight window, so nothing in the way of trends. But anything you guys would add to this 1 hour chart?
Nothing to the 1 hour chart. I had a little look back on the platform here, and it kind of looks like it might be consolidating quite nicely. Obviously, we've had a massive move throughout the year, and this kind of sideways price action is actually pretty good for long-term investors. Obviously, you talk about cover call strategies and options and things like that, but as a long-term perspective as well, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely might provide some opportunity for those that missed out to get in on this consolidation. Anything else from UK?
No, the option side is 1.07, so slightly bearish on NVDA, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, given the run, that makes some sense. So yeah, keeping it going into the marathon digital holding space. So Bitcoin has been doing well. We mentioned up 82% on the year. And now Marathon is deciding to take off again. So we had these months of just opportunities and consolidation where you could buy the low and sell the high, sell covered calls, or sell or collect cash from cash secured puts, right, Kay? And
Yep.
As you're collecting that cash, it's great. But when you see this breakout opportunity occur, that is, of course, some of the give and take, right? So you're going to miss out on that upside if you did sell covered calls and lost your shares. So that being said, all the opportunities over the last 2 months that we've been calling out, I've been pointing out on Twitter, more than made up for it. I've been able to collect premiums. And again, that's the big reason we've been talking about this one is the premiums you can collect were just huge. So it wasn't 1 or 2% for a couple of weeks. You're talking, multiples of that. So really great to trade that. And now we've got this breakout, nice trend line form. These candles are the 1 hour again, just to show that range nice and tight. But you can see that they're holding nicely to this trend line, moved up above the 1530 support resistance level. And I'm wondering if it slows down a bit here. And if it does, I want to see that 1530 hold, but really would like to see this trend line hold and continue higher all the way up to that 1775, showing just no signs of slowing down. I didn't pull up the Bitcoin chart, but I don't know if you guys have looked at that or not. It definitely trades in lockstep with Bitcoin, but any additional thoughts on Marathon?
I have a question.
Okay.
Go for it, Sean.
No, your question sounds good. I like it.
So what should be the optimal entry point at this point for Mara if you want to get in?
Yeah, I think it's too early to tell. I mean, if you want to make a really quick trade, you could look for a pullback to that green trend line and make a buy there because it has been respecting it. I notice I don't have the moving averages on here, probably because the hourly chart had removed that. But I would look at the daily, and if we're getting close back to, let's see, actually pull that up on the side.
So
Using the moving averages as touch points to get in on uptrend. So anytime I'm looking to get in on something that's clearly moving higher and been doing so, I would look to get in on retests of the moving averages, but those are far away at this point.
they are nowhere close. I'm even looking at the exponential moving average 30-day,
and it's nowhere near.
Nowhere near. And exponential moving average it takes into account your massive uprun price movements compared to the simple moving averages, but it's too far apart.
So you'll notice on Friday we got a spike and then a big pullback. So the daily candle is a little bit harder to see on the hourly here, but the daily has a huge upper wick.
Yes.
So maybe showing some signs of cooling. It's the same, Sean. It's that same candle you called out at the start of this with that 2-day doji forming, where we've got the open and close real tight.
But this looks like a hammer, actually. If I
well, yeah, on Friday, but look at Thursday's candle.
Yeah, that is true.
It was the opposite, right? We had a long lower wick, and so, I think there's some indecision here, and it makes a little bit of sense. Maybe people are slowing down as we're waiting for earnings in a couple of weeks, and I think Kay, you said maybe we get some consolidation. Maybe the same things going on in the Bitcoin space. So that could be what we're seeing here. So I would look for 1530 to hold. And if you get a good hold there and the moving averages come up to start, like we've been saying earlier, slide in there, then that might be your opportunity. So yeah, always interesting. This one's kept everybody engaged, no doubt. But coming back from Vegas, and really this is coincidence. I did not do this on purpose. But the number one chart that jumped out to me this week was DraftKings. So I don't have it highlighted here, but we're making new higher highs and higher lows consistently, even though we've kind of consolidated a bit here. Even Friday's high made just a touch higher price point than we had towards the end of the prior week. And, the close well above 2640, close at 2665. So again, I'm with Sean. I'm waiting for a pullback and a retest here. And if it did get back below 2640 but held 26, that would be a nice potential for accumulation there. The 20-day moving average could pull right up in there and provide support. And we continue this uptrend. So I'm looking for that number one, right? That's number one setup is a breakout to the upside. But if it rejects hard and pulls back, then maybe we're just going to get some consolidation. And I would look for the 50-day to hold and that mid-range as an accumulation zone between 2430 and 2485. So I kind of see two potential trades. Just depends on which one sets up.
Yeah, I think for me, I see a bit of a wedge as well, or at least like a triangle pattern. So if you drew a line across the top there, and you've obviously got the trend line coming down the bottom, you could probably move that up if you wanted to be a bit more accurate. And that kind of coincides with towards the mid to end of July, that kind of wedge. And typically stocks don't really break out, on the last day, the last couple of days, breaks out before. So I would be looking at that wedge personally. If you kind of imagine the triangle on the screen here now. But yeah, if it breaks up, that'd be good. But I'd be looking at the actual pattern itself. It's similar. It's basically the same thing, but just a different perspective, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you use those types of patterns more so or less so, or just kind of in conjunction with price levels? Because, I don't know which I like more. To be honest with you, I use them both, and I'd just be curious. Do you like to use like a wedge pattern breakout or those kind of things more so?
I honestly, I do both. So I'll start drawing lines on the chart, and then it'll kind of, I seem to just come across a pattern and think, oh, actually, that's a triangle pattern, or that's a channeling wedge, a parallel channel, should we say? And then I kind of draw in lines, I identify what could possibly be a breakout high or lower, and there's no real method to it. I just basically draw lines. So
I asked that. I kind of set you up there a little bit because I knew that would be your answer, and that's the right answer for a very specific reason in my mind. If we're all trying to get super creative and do all these fancy things that nobody else can see on the chart, then who else is trading that, right? But if we're all looking at similar patterns, this is naturally what's going on, and you have institutions even looking at the same patterns and you're looking at those patterns, then when institutions see a signal and you see the signal, you're going to get the movement with, you're going to be going with the crowd, quote unquote. So I take the same approach. It's like, what is obvious? What jumps off the page? Draw the lines. It probably jumped off the page for other folks. And if it didn't, then that's okay. It doesn't mean it's not good or not valid, but I'm just saying, I think you get a little bit further with those that simplified approach.
Absolutely. Yeah, keep it simple. Keep your chart nice and simple.
Yeah, simple. You know me. Kay, anything to add from options side? I'm sure DraftKings is
no, DKNG doesn't have that much action going on with.
Really?
Yeah, let me see. Let me double check.
Felt like with all this movement to the upside, it might get more stickiness, but I think
we have 0.99, so it's
pretty much
pretty even out, right?
Yeah. All right, nothing to write about. Moving on. Last chart for me in particular, and we'll move on to case charts, which are the big tech names that you're going to want to stick around and pay attention to. Also, if you haven't already, appreciate you subscribing. Hit the subscribe button. We'll work hard at these charts every week, and I appreciate all the followers already. We have big goals here, so thanks again for following along. And again, so my last chart this week is IWM, and the reason I'll mention it again is I believe that the small cap stocks are going to give us a lot of indication or signaling towards what the broader markets are going to do. And so I'm paying pretty close attention to the Russell 2000 and IWM being the ETF that tracks it. And we had this nice consolidation period that legged up, and I was hoping would be able to hold above that 184 level, but it pulled back a little bit, came back to retest the 150-day moving average. But this is kind of what we were talking about earlier with another stock with the 200-day sliding in. The 150 has now, formed a support level here. It looks like we had a bounce off of it, another, 2 bounces recently off of this dark blue line. So I like that as potentially the lower end of this range, even though I let it go all the way down to 179 because that's where the 50-day moving average is. And then 187.34 on the upside. So that 179 to 187 range is where we're at right now, and looking for, a break either way to kind of signal for the broader markets. And I'm about out of breath. So anything to add to IWM?
I like the 150 here because you can see the strength back to the beginning of the chart as a resistance point. So off 3 points there, and as you just said, twice as support very recently. But that would be a good area to watch. And again, tracing back to the kind of indicators that we use, I use a 200, you used a 150. It's different for everyone. We get different results. But yeah, that's just the kind of different traders that we are, and different perspectives that we provide. It's just kind of analyzing the chart in a different way. I don't really know what I'm trying to say, but generally, looking at the chart, different perspectives can provide the same result, if not better.
Yeah, no, when the two perspectives align, even though they start in different spots, that's huge, right? And I'm noticing here, by the way, right in the dead center of the chart is that retest of 179. So from a breakout perspective, just to give you an idea what it looks like in a nice clear form here, we had the big volume spike breaking 179 previously, and a clear retest, your chance to get back in, and then nice move up afterwards. So let's look to hold the higher highs here, or higher lows I should say, and form higher highs, and really want that 50-day to hold. If not, the 150 would be even better. 180 roughly, need to hold that level and see what happens.
Absolutely.
All right, Kay, hand it over to you with Apple, and I am really curious what you have to say here, because I think everybody is watching Apple.
Yeah, the apple of the eye, right? So
everybody.
Well, we had another all-time high at 194.48. I talked about this gap that we created right around the what was this? About 189 to 194, and then we did see the gap filling up right around there. I did write that over there. 52% up year to date, Apple. I mean, take it. It's been a phenomenal performance. Of course, stocks like NVIDIA and Tesla and some of these others, they have blown the performance. But still, for an Apple, for a $3 trillion company to do a 52% year to date, that just goes to show how big this company is. I personally see that's overextending as usual, because every time you have a new all-time high, you don't know exactly what the pattern is going to be. It could keep running up, but at some point in time, there would be a pullback. Now, there is going to be a video that I'm going to post later on my channel, but I'll give a quick summary here. Most of the times that we have seen the all-time high of Apple, and when the stock retraces, the downside is between 15 and 30%. So something to keep in mind. If you are a long-term investor on Apple, I think dollar cost averaging right now, I would honestly wait for a pullback to dollar cost average over here. If you're trading, you have to be very, very careful at these elevated levels. The volume is also declining, which you have probably seen consistent across all the stocks we talked about. And this is something that we need to see if the volume continues to decline, or is it comes back up after the vacation is over. And now if you go and check any place, Bazinga or Seeking Alpha, anywhere, most of the analysts are calling to now sell. Now, I don't think, as a long-term investor, I would not be selling Apple at these levels, but from a trader perspective, I would be very careful getting in. You do have decent number of contracts at 200 call options. You have 36,000 contracts, whereas on the put side, you have about 24,000 at 190. So still very bullish the number of calls to put, the put to call ratio, and it's 0.88, so very bullish. That's what I'm seeing with Apple here. I'm not touching the stock. I'm just watching it. That's it.
Well, I'm not betting against this guy. I've been saying for like weeks, wow, 178, looks like it's about done here. I can't imagine it moving higher, and here we are. So, I mean, I think if I say that it's going to go higher, maybe that will finally push it over. What do you guys think? Is that arrogant enough of a statement?
Well, we do have the earnings coming up, so keep that perspective in mind.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be super interesting because, I mean, Apple's just been powering, continuously blowing it away, even with earnings. Didn't it gap up on last earnings? It looks like
It did. Yeah, it did.
So could you imagine a gap up from here? Like, that's just insane.
Yeah. But by the way, I did forget to tell, and it's not on the chart here. Citigroup new price target for Apple is $240. However, 2 weeks ago, we got 3 downgrades from Bank of America, Piper Sandler, and Oppenheimer at about 190 or so. So take it what it's worth from the price analysts on the price targets.
Yeah.
I think as well, the RSI is cooling off nicely, even at these elevated levels. So there's no reason why I can't just keep going up in this channel. You can see a very clear channel, and why not?
Yeah, really organized, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's essentially the neatest stock I've ever seen.
This is the model right here.
Yeah.
This is what you want your portfolio to look like.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a long-term investor in Apple, you would be very, very happy. But from a trading perspective, I just don't know where to get in and where to get out at these levels.
Yeah, I don't trade Apple at all. Maybe in the early days I did, but not now. It's just not exciting enough for me, I guess, for the smaller names.
If we get some consolidation, for in this, and I wouldn't want to just jump in right away, but if we got some sideways movement, it could happen for a while given this run and given the lack of people's willingness to sell. Even if there's a bit of a sell off, they could just form a range, and at that point, okay, you know where I'm going with this.
Exactly.
Right.
That's when you do your wheel strategy right there.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the next stock, which I actually love. This is Google, because Google gives you a very good opportunity to trade regardless of the week. And right now, we do see a little bit of a bearish sign here. We saw the prices cross the 30 EMA, and you will start noticing that apart from the 20, 50, and 200-day moving averages, I have also plotted now the EMA, which kind of, especially for stocks that have run up so much, EMA just helps to give a little bit more perspective. So still in the moving averages, but just giving an exponential. So that is a little bearish sign, considering we have that. I think the 118 support level is still going to hold that. And if you really want to play if you really want to play Google, I think the 118 to 122, that would be a good range. I think it could barcode from here until the next earnings. The put to call ratio is 0.77, so still very positive on the option side. The contracts, the open interest is pretty low compared to Apple. So in Apple, you had 36,000 and 24,000 contract options on call and put, whereas you have 2,700 open interest at 121 on the call side and 2,300 at 118 and the put side. So it's a stark difference between Google and Apple stock, but I like these levels, and honestly, this is for a weekly trade. This is a nice setup. You can see it's like barcoding. Even if it hits, we saw it did not hit its April 2022 height of 131. So I think it's in a good range bound, and I love stocks which are trade like this. Then you can get in and get out within a range, and still collect some nice premiums for the week.
So with this one, I see a pattern. I see a triangle. How do I do this on the screen? There we go.
Yeah,
like that.
I see what you're saying. Yes.
And so the range is getting tighter. And for me, that creates a triangle. And that is a potential break of trend either way.
Yeah.
Not a trend, so I say, just the break of the line, should we say. So I'm actually going to add this to my watch list and watch that carefully in terms of that triangle. It's called a symmetrical triangle generally. And if it breaks down, obviously we'll see some levels of, analyze that and do my due diligence on that side of things. And if it breaks up, same thing. But I see a nice trade pattern here.
Yeah. There is
Yeah,
a bearish sign, so you can track that and see if it plays out, and you can get a confirmation.
yeah, that those lines you're talking about, Sean. I mean, you trace that all the way back to the beginning of the year to the lower, when it was below 106, and I think that level, the lower end of that triangle holds. So that's a strong line there, and to your point, if it breaks, then that could be a good signal. Interesting. I didn't see that at all, Sean. Nice.
I find that quite surprising because when I looked at the screen, maybe it's just the way my eyes work. I saw the triangle straight away, and but yeah, like I said,
Sean has an eye for
perspectives.
the patterns here for sure.
What I was stuck on is the high from August 2022. That's
Yes.
what I ended up zeroing in on, and the fact that we, got above it briefly, but ultimately got, rejected back below and retested it only to reject. So, that's thus forming the upper side of that triangle. So, and this will be, I think we're getting close to running out of room, right? So it should be next week or two.
And that's why we do this, for different perspectives.
Yeah, good stuff.
All right, beautiful. Moving on to one of the favorite stocks for everybody, which is SOFI. And let me pull up here on my side. So with SOFI, let me start by saying that Wall Street has a hold rating on SOFI. We saw these massive ramp up or massive breakout. We had this big hammer candle or doji, if you want to call that, which hit the 1023. That was a indecision in the market, and since then, we are pretty much on a decline. I don't know. Do you guys see that as an inverse double top, or what do you call that? If you want to say this green and this pink bar, but I still see that the upward momentum seems to have stalled.
Yeah. Making a lower high after that initial high and not being able to get back up to fully retest it. And the declining volumes afterwards as well.
Yes. And on the volume side, right? So just a week ago, your average volume was around the 49 million. Right now, your volume has dropped to 19.5 million. So that's a drastic decline.
Right.
And if it continues to decline, you may see a downward pressure on the stock. Next earning is estimated like 3 weeks or so, 731. So I think what investors and traders are really looking for from SOFI is how is the student loan moratorium going to impact the bottom line of SOFI, and that is going to be the catalyst either on the upside or the downside. That's what I see. Put to call ratio always positive 0.69. Not much has changed. At $7 you have 11,000, almost 12,000 contracts on the put side, and at 10 you have 15,700 contacts. I think that's being really optimistic at 10 because we had that massive rejection at 1023, and so I think this could be a good CSP play for a little bit longer, not like a week, maybe 2-3 weeks out.
Are you thinking at the $8 level?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
So if I look at let's say 28th July, at an $8, you'll get a decent premium, about $42 per contract.
I kind of like accumulating shares here, or doing like you're saying with the cash secured puts. It looks like it's trying to get some support, and I wouldn't go full bore necessarily, but if we get a little bit of a bounce here, that'd be a second retest of this level around 8. You've got the CEO buying.
Yeah.
You do have the moratorium, but I wonder when those impacts will actually be seen and felt.
Like that won't be seen because I think the payment begins in September or October.
Right. So
looking at what, quarter 4?
Yeah, Q4. Right? So you'll talk about it in Q1 of next year.
Exactly. So, and keep in mind, the Wall Street only cares about the next quarter.
Right. That's true.
Q4, when they will give you a future guidance for Q3, which they will report in Q4, they're just looking at that time frame, or maybe 2 quarters out. They're not looking at an year, 3-year quarter, but it will still be interesting to see how SOFI predicts the impact on the I think it's a positive impact for SoFi.
Do you
Sean?
think
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Sean, did you have anything else to add to this one?
Yeah, so more for the longer term folks, really on the technical side, I've actually got a buy zone of 650 to 7, which I've had there for quite some time. But I'm now looking at that and I'm thinking of moving that up, just from this chart that you've posted here, Kay. And my reason for that is the 50% line on the Fibonacci is kind of about 730. Is that roughly?
724. Yeah.
724, and I really like that as a level because 50% is normal, kind of a typical retracement, really. Obviously, it's not everything, but what double confidence in that is the 50 line, which is the purple line coming up behind it. If we do break this 20, is it, or 20 or 30, one of those? If we do break that, and I know $8 is quite a good level because we hit the resistance back in the chart, and we obviously bounced off it a few days ago as well. So that would be a nice area to get into if you're short-term trading, of course. But if it's to break that, then I would definitely be adding to my. So I've got SoFi for the longer-term portfolio, but I'd be looking to add personally. Obviously, it's not financial advice. Around that kind of 730 level, or wherever the 50 will be at that point.
Yeah, the 50-day is around 686, the simple moving average.
Nice.
Exactly. So between that range, 686 and 730 would be my basically to move it up on my chart.
Yeah, so basically, Sean is looking for a little bit more pullback and have this. I think make more sense.
Just for the longer term, obviously short-term trading, a couple of calls and that kind of stuff, a bit different. But I think for the longer term folks that are watching this, that's what I'd be looking at.
Yeah.
Another quick positive note before we get to your next one, Kay, is I noticed, obviously he's been trading a little bit in lockstep with the regional banks, and the regionals seem to have mellowed out finally. Like they're consolidating, moving sideways back above the 50-day for the KRE ETF. So I think that's positive it should help SoFi with some stability in its price action, because there were some days there where it was just following the regionals, and I don't think that made a lot of sense. So.
Yeah, but if you think about it, right, SoFi is like a regional bank. Even though we would like to say, okay, SoFi is going to come and replace Bank of America, that's not happening.
Sure, right. So it makes some sense, right? But at the same time, I felt like it didn't have the same exposure as those regionals. Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
It didn't have the same customers, right, as the ones that were in trouble, and yet it was getting pulled down. So
yeah.
But yeah, I think that some stability there will just be helpful. That's all.
Yeah, and hopefully, if the big money or institutional hedge funds, they start rotating out of tech and getting into the banks and getting into the consumer cyclicals or consumer staples, you might see a pushback up.
Yeah. Yep. And I think SoFi is one of those names that everybody's watching, right, and a lot of interest. So it could be interesting.
Okay, the last chart that we have is Intel, and I love Intel from a standpoint because it has proved on to be a pretty good trade. The $30 range, when the stock was below the $30, it would come hit $30 as resistance many times, and you could just trade that range between $24 and $30. Now it has broken that $30, it's above that, and it has found a nice little support level at $30. So couple pointers before a news from a standpoint is, the first news is that the global semiconductor sales have fell 21% year over year. That's the latest news that came out, I think, a day or 2 days before. On the good note is there is a partnership between Intel and NVDA, but that has to do with more of the industry standards. So I have to dig a little bit more deeper into to understand what exactly that standards are. But there's a good that's a good positive news for Intel. We do see I have a very crappy drawing, unfortunately. So I do have a
I like
pennant.
it, Kay. I like it.
Okay, thank you. We have a pennant here, and this denotes a bearish sign. So you see that little small triangle I try to draw with a red line, and I think that this pennant, as it starts getting tighter, and we already saw the price going below it, I still think if you are going to trade Intel, I think a $30 is a good support level, and it has been respected many times. That could be a good trading opportunity. So for me personally, I'm looking at between 30 and 34 level to trade on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis. And looking at the put to call ratio is 0.55. So again, very bullish from a semiconductor standpoint. The company is turning around. So that does help with the thesis that Intel, I don't think is going to go to all-time high anytime soon, but it's in an upward trend, and it will play with how NVIDIA, AMDs, and TSMC are playing. So if you're into the semiconductor space, keep an eye on Intel as well. What do you guys?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sean.
Interesting you say the company is turning around, and just basically a good quote for the point I was going to make. And the moving average of the 200 side is just kind of curling up. And
Yes.
I thought you nailed it there with that quote. That's what I was going to mention, really, is just hopefully that 200 can kind of turn that corner and really, move upwards, and then that will obviously confirm the trend. And if we can get that above the 30 level, that'd be really good.
That's a good catch. I didn't see that at all, actually. That's a very good
Look, you said it yourself.
Oh my
Company's
God.
turning around.
Yeah.
It's turning around. I've got two observations here. First one is, Sean, we need to help Kay with his drawings on his charts.
Yes.
At first I thought, what lines? Oh yeah.
Giving you a hard time, Kay. And then second, I don't remember ever. I'm sure I have, but I just don't remember seeing these 2-day patterns that we're seeing on all these charts that's forming the doji that you called out at the start of this stream, Sean. And that's the Thursday, Friday action. Same thing here with Intel, right? So
Yeah, you're right.
Thursday sold off, but then the bulls came in and pushed it right back up, creating the nice, hammer pattern, that the long lower wick, and you would expect a big move up. So then Friday we get a big move up, and it just sold off. And so we have that tight range of open and close across the 2 days with huge wicks on either side. I can't remember seeing a week close out like that, let alone just really that kind of setup happening in recent times. So, I mean, I'm looking back in the chart, kind of see one there right before a big move up. But yeah, anyways, I just think it's interesting. We're seeing that on all the charts. Feels like a lot of indecision out there yet again after, a pretty nice move up. Everybody's doing pretty well first half of the year if you're in the market.
And I think the indecision is also coming in because the first half has ended. We heard from Powell, right? You'll have 2 to 3 rate hike. I think
to wait for some earnings, right?
Right, and earnings season. I think those are the decisions that I guess the market wants to see. You may see a rally, then you may see a sell off, and then until the earnings really pop up, earnings start off. Yeah.
One thing I would add to that with the dojis that we've been mentioning throughout the stream is, more often than not, the dojis that we've been seeing on all of these charts with the bottoming candle, which is the buyers coming in, there's always been a little bit of support underneath that.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that means. Maybe that's a bit more bullish. May mean nothing, but in my opinion, that means a lot of things are bouncing off of levels. It could be support, it could be moving averages, various moving averages. But yeah, that's what I've been noticing throughout the stream.
Yeah, that's a good call. Maybe it was just a bit of too much of a bounce. So kind of cool it off Friday and then see if we continue higher. Yeah, great stuff, you guys. Appreciate all the charts and insight yet again. This is another great week, and I missed doing it last week, quite honestly. So I feel like it's Sunday again. It's good stuff. Kay, what would you close out this week with? Let's start with you.
I think watching the Wednesday is an important day. So if you have certain capital to invest for the week or trade, I think watch the Wednesday report. That is going to be a turning point, because with Fed telling you that they will do 2 to 3 rate hikes, and if CPI numbers they don't align, you are for sure for a massive rate hike, or at least multiple rate hikes. But yeah, again, trade safely and enjoy the process.
Yeah, how about you, Sean?
Yeah, for me, if it's going to be a bit of a quiet week, I said earlier on the stream, I'm not going to be trading this week, just because I want to step back and observe really the volatility. And my message to you is, if it is a bit volatile, if you are a little bit scared, just don't trade. I'm not saying follow in my footsteps. That's not what I'm saying by all means, but just take care out there. And if you're having a little bit of trepidation, then obviously just take a step back and just watch the markets instead. But other than that, subscribe, like, all that jazz. Maybe Nate can say a little bit more on that side of things. But yeah, that's it for me. Have a good week.
Yeah, and if you guys are taking the week off, hit Sean up on Twitter. He's going to have some free time. He's not going to be trading. So ask him what's going on. Maybe you guys can make some observations for the following week. I'm looking forward to hear what you do see if you're because I'm imagining you're not stepping away completely. You're just kind of taking a step back. Yeah.
I have positions to manage, so I'm not going to be actively trading new ones. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, I mean, again, appreciate everybody's following and listening in, tuning in. Please do subscribe and hit the like button. It does help us out quite a bit so we can keep this thing rolling. Got over 60 followers, subscribers to the channel so far, and we just kicked this thing off. So looking forward to seeing where it goes. And this week I'm excited. So for me, I got to make sure I don't get too anxious and get after it because I haven't been trading, right? So that's the big thing for me is being patient. I've seen some opportunities. So we were talking about DraftKings. That's the number one I'm going to be watching this week to see what it does if we do get a bit of a breakout or if it pulls back to consolidate. And then I just add that next week, I think I'm going to be adding a couple of new tickers and maybe removing a couple. So, look forward to that. Stay tuned for that. See some opportunities that I want to make sure we talk about. And so I'll pull those in. And otherwise, looking forward to another great week. I appreciate everybody that's been tuning in along the way and appreciate you guys' inputs again this week with your charts. So have fun and have a great rest of your day.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.